Hi, welcome to the Garments Engage Crochet podcast, where I chat about crochet garments and other yarny things. I am Michelle Ferguson, crochet pattern designer of Two Brothers Blankets. You can find me at twobrothersblankets.com, on Facebook and Instagram at Two Brothers Blankets, and right here on YouTube every week for this podcast. I would absolutely love it if you subscribe to this channel, if you like what you see, if you're interested in learning more about crochet garments and crocheting in general. So just click that subscribe button and share this podcast as well. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers, and once we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to do a giveaway. So just click that share button as well and share it with your friends who love to crochet and learn about crochet also. I hope you've had a good week. It's been a pretty good week here. We are getting back into the groove of things after a week off for spring break. Not gonna lie, it's not so easy to get back into the groove of things. We had a good spring break and I enjoyed myself, but I was very ready to get back into a routine, and then this week happened and I'm like, still dragging, still just want to relax and not do anything. So mixed emotions when it comes to returning from spring break. But otherwise, all is well and just trucking along, getting as much work done as I can. So for events and happenings this week, we have the Amara shawl releasing this week. I'm super excited to get that up and to you. It is a fun design, a simple design. You don't have to know a lot of stitches. You can really there we go. You can really, play with the color working of it and all that. It's one of those that you can just kind of make your own. And it's DK weight, so it's perfect for this time of year, springtime. So I'm excited to release that. We are on the third from the last episode right now. So that means there are only 2 episodes after this of this season 1 crochet podcast. Cannot believe it. It's been crazy. It's been fun. I've loved doing this every week, chatting with you guys, and I'm already planning season 2. For the last episode of season 1, I'm going to do like a Q&A style show. I'm going to get your questions from like now on until the end, till I film it. And it can be crochet related. It can be about me. It can be about my business, homeschooling, garment questions, whatever. Ask your questions, and I'm going to do my very best to answer as many as I can in the last episode of this season. So if you have a question for me, leave it in the comments below and I will add it to the list. All right, let's get right to today's subject. I want to talk about blocking. Blocking is something that I used to never ever do, as I think most new crocheters would say. But then I tried it and I really liked it. So I am pro blocker now, if that's even a word or a thing. So I just want to talk about it. I just want to give you my tips and why it's helpful and when it's helpful and when it's not even necessary. So let's get into it. So if you don't know what blocking is, it is basically using water to open up your stitches. Loosen them up, I guess, a little bit. Open up, I think, is the better word. There's a number of reasons you can do that, or why you would want to do that. Some of the benefits of blocking include the fit. If you're making a garment and it is slightly too small or slightly tight, a little bit tight on you, blocking will open up those stitches and give it a looser fit, just a little bit. Most of the time, just a little bit. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Depending on how you block it, it could open up the stitches quite a bit and give you a lot more room than you might even want. So more on that later, but it will help loosen up your fit. Sometimes people block to give your yarn a better drape. If you want something very flowy, if you're making a shawl or a flowy top or sweater or a skirt or something like that, blocking will really help the drape and the flow of the yarn and the stitches together, to give you that nice like drapey flow. I don't know how to describe it. It can also add length. It can also give shape, more defined shape to your project. If you have a rectangle and one side is a little wonky, you can fix that by blocking, stuff like that. Also the stitches, if you have a really intricate lacy stitch pattern within your crochet project and you really want to open that up and define it, blocking is wonderful for that. So that's a great way to just define your stitches, open up the stitch work, and as well as give it flow and drape and fit. So what ways are there to block? There are 3 main ways I would say that most people use for blocking. There is steam blocking, which is where you take an iron or a handheld steamer. I use a handheld steamer. I should have grabbed it. I got it on Amazon, and I will just hold it up against my project, not directly on your project. Big note, maybe about an inch, half an inch away, and take the steam and go over the project with it. That's called steam blocking. I use steam blocking for my acrylic projects most of the time. You have to be careful with acrylic because you don't want to get too close. Like I said, you don't want to go right over it. It will, kill the acrylic, I think is how they say it. So you don't want to get too close. You got to be careful. But that's an easy, simple way to do acrylic. Acrylic doesn't really grow or anything. When you wet it, wash it or whatever, it pretty much holds its shape and stitch work. So I just find that steaming it is, when I do acrylic, I usually just want a better drape or a looser fit. So I find that steam just is a quick way to do that. So I've used steam on other ones, but sometimes when I'm using like a nicer fiber or something, something more expensive than just acrylic, I get nervous about using a steamer with those. So that's where I usually go with the wet or dry method. So the next method is dry blocking or spray blocking, some people call it. And that is where you take your project and you pin it down on a foam mat or a piece of cardboard or towel or whatever. You pin it down in the shape you want it, stretched out, however you want it. And you spray it with a water bottle and just spray some cool water on it and let it dry. This is probably my go-to, I don't want to say favorite because I really like wet blocking, but my go-to method of blocking right now, especially because I find that it is the easiest way to get what you want. So, because you pretty much manipulate how you want it to be, and then you spray it, and then it dries that way. So you don't have to worry about it growing. And when I say growing, I mean like this happens when you wet block. This has happened a few times to me. When you wet block it, which is when you are submerging it into the water, it really like grows in length, in width, and the stitches really stretch out and all that. Sometimes, not always, depends on the fiber. So this is kind of like foolproof, I feel like, with the dry blocking. You can see how it's going to look before you actually spray it down. So then there's wet blocking, which is kind of what I just explained. Wet blocking is where you submerge the project into the water completely, like a bucket of water, or I usually use like my bathroom sink, and I put the whole project in cool water, and then I squeeze it out, don't wring it, squeeze it out, roll it up in a towel to help it dry some more, and then lay it flat on the foam board and pin it down, and then let it dry. Like I said, you don't have as much manipulation with it. I love wet blocking for like shawls and really lacy, intricate projects that I want to really open up the stitch work, or if I'm not concerned about the sizing, because like I said, sometimes depending on the fiber, it will grow quite a bit. This happened to me with my Leilani tee. Last summer, I designed the Leilani tee. It was a cute, super cute raglan, and it's still a super cute raglan, but it was a cute raglan. It was pretty fitted, at the time of making it, which was fine, but I did want to open it up a little bit and give it a little bit of a looser, drapier fit. It grew quite a bit. I did a wet block, and it probably grew 2 to 3 inches more width and lengthwise. So it was very flowy and very drapey and quite oversized on me. Just like not terrible, like it still looked great, but it just did more than I expected it to. So sometimes you have to watch with that. I think it was made with a superwash merino wool yarn. I think that was the content, the fiber content of the yarn. So you just got to be careful sometimes with wet blocking. You got to be careful sometimes with steam blocking. So that's why I like dry blocking the best, because you kind of can do it. Now, there are disadvantages to dry blocking. It's harder to stretch out, open up the stitches, the sizing, the length, whatever, when it's dry and not wet. It's much easier to open it up, add your length, add your width. When it's already wet, the stitches will open up. When it's dry, you're kind of pulling and yanking a little bit, and you don't want to do that too much. So the wet blocking and the steam blocking have their perks, but dry blocking I feel like is the safest method, maybe. I don't know. So anyways, like I said, my go-to is right now is the dry blocking, the spray blocking. Like this one, the Amara shawl I spray blocked, I dry blocked. It didn't do much. I just kind of sprayed it out. I wanted the curling. It was curling a little to, oh, that's another reason that you can block is to have your stitches lay down. If you have something that's curling up or whatever, that's a great way to get them to stay down. That's what I did for the Amara. And, it just helped lay them down. I didn't really like stretch it or anything like that. Is blocking necessary? Is it always necessary? Should you always block? No. You ain't got to. I used to never block. Like I said, I didn't block anything at all. And I still do not block everything. Like I said, if I have an issue with curling, if it's curling up and the corners won't stay down or whatever, I will block. If I want a looser fit or the stitches to open up or more of a drape, I will try blocking. Yeah, if it's a shawl, I almost always block it just because it really opens up the stitches and gives it good length and flow and drape. If it's a sweater, I will sometimes block and I will sometimes not. I like to run the steamer over a lot of my sweaters, just laying on like the mannequin or on a hanger, to just kind of give it, I don't know, like give it a nice drape and just open it up a little sometimes. Sometimes I don't do that at all. If it's something like the Leilani tee or the Rosie tee, something very lightweight, flowy, you want it to drape really well against your body, then I will block. But I do not always block. It's not always necessary. But if you want to really open it up, lay down the curling, kind of manipulate it however you want it to be, blocking is super, super helpful and important. So I do think that blocking is a very important part of crocheting garments. It's something you should know how to do. I have a whole blog post on how to block crochet garments and tops. So I will link that. I do think it's important. I think it's important to know how to do. I think it's important to try. But it's not always necessary at all. So those are my tips on blocking. Those are the kind of blocking that you can do. If you have any questions or want more details on how to do that, check out that link or leave me a question in a comment down below. And I will try to answer as soon as I can. So let's talk about what's in my WIP bag now. It's been a few days since I finished the Chevy blanket and the Sarasota tank top. I was super proud of myself. I finished it I finished the Sarasota tank during spring break, and then I wanted to finish the Chevy blanket but didn't quite get it done, so I finished it Monday of this week. Close enough. We're going to count it. But they're done. They're both done. They both need ends weaved in and pictures taken, but the crocheting part is done. So during spring break, I had a hook that I was asked to try out, and I needed a project for that hook size, and I didn't have one that I was already working on, so I started something new, of course. I started a Fiesta fringe triangle scarf. It'll be much bigger when I get done with it, but it's super pretty. It's starting to get the color change. I'm using Mandala Ombre, I think that's how you say it, from Lion Brand Yarn. I really like this yarn. I like it a lot better than just plain mandala. I like the colors better, I think. And this is a worsted weight yarn, where mandala is a DK weight. So I really like these. I've used this before for my little textures baby skirt, and I want to say something else, but I can't remember. But anyways, that's what I'm working on now. I'm just kind of working on it as I have a chance for like a remake. And I think I'm going to do a review on this yarn because I don't know that I've ever washed anything with it. So, because I really like it. It's really soft and I like the color. So I'm interested to see how it washes up. So maybe there will be a brutally honest yarn review coming soon with that. So I'm just working on that a little bit. And then I'm also working on a commission design that I cannot show you, but hopefully soon. And then I started a swatch for a summer cardigan that I would like to release this summer in this beautiful pink yarn from WIP Crochet. It's Hawthorne Fingering. I think it's the Kettle Dye line. Yeah, Daphne Kettle Dye. It's a really pretty light pink. I don't know if you can get a good glimpse of it. It's a fingering weight. I think it'll be nice for... I was originally going to do a t-shirt, but then I got the idea to do a summer cardigan. Like, I think it's going to be like 3/4 or right at the elbow sleeves. Kind of oversized. We'll see. We'll see how the designing process goes. But all I've done so far is the swatch. I think I'm going to stick with this stitch. It's very simple, but you know what? Sometimes simple is best. So that is what is in my WIP bag this week. Okay, let's get into my brutally honest yarn review. This week I want to review, I hope you can see that, Paintbox Yarns Simply DK. I have used this yarn a number of times for, let's see, I did my Katie baby blanket, which is a free pattern on my blog in this color actually. I did my Michelle sweater, which is a huge hit, one of my best sellers in this yarn. And I recently made the Lamau sweater in this yarn as well, which is what I washed to test it out. So Paintbox Yarns, you can get this at lovecrafts.com. I will put a link in the description. It is, hold on, where is, okay, it is 100% acrylic. It is 302 yards per skein. This is a beautiful pink color. I don't think it has a name. I think they go by like a number. Yeah, it just has a number. I think it might have names on the website. I don't know. It's a very light pink. I think I made the Katie blanket in this color. It says it is machine washable on the wool gentle cycle with light colors and to tumble dry on cool setting and to use a cool iron. Do not bleach. Don't do it. So I gave this a go. I really like it. It's one of my favorite, let me grab this. It's one of my favorite acrylics. I think it's a great true DK. It's not too thick, not too thin, right on the DK scale. Lots of colors to choose from. Really good price. I can't remember the price right off. I think it's like $3 a skein. And then they have a lot of sales over at Lovecrafts too, so you can get it cheaper than that sometimes too. I have a fall project planned with this yarn that I'm not going to share with you yet, but I mean, it's one that I definitely use quite often. You do have to buy it online. As far as I know, I don't know where they sell it in person, but I have to buy it online here in Florida. United States, I don't know. So that might be a turn off to you. I don't know. But I made my Lamau sweater and recently with this yarn, and I decided to wash it and dry it and see how it turned out. This is the first time I've washed this. So since it's red, I washed it all by itself because I was kind of scared that the red would come out in the wash, the dye. So I can't say that it did or it didn't, but I didn't want to take that chance. So I washed it all by itself in the delicate cycle. And then I put it in the dryer to dry on cool though. I did like a delicate cool setting. And it only did it for like 20 minutes, and then I laid it flat to dry. I didn't want to take any chances. So I will say sorry guys, my microphone keeps rubbing. There we go. It turned out great. It washed great. There's not even like fuzzies on it. So that I was super happy about. The fact that you got to do it on delicate kind of stinks, but at the same time, it's going to keep your crochet projects nicer anyway. So it looks great. It looks just like it did before. It's just as soft. It's not softer. I will say that. It's not softer. It's just as soft. But it's not pilly. It's not fuzzy. It held up great. It held up great in the wash. I'm really so since I design full-time, a lot of my projects, especially the sweaters, they don't get worn that much. Like I'll wear them for pictures, and I'll occasionally wear one of my summer tops out on date night or church or something. But living in Florida, I don't get to wear these sweaters very often. A lot of times I either give them away to someone else, or they sit in my closet for a while until I do give them away. So I don't wash them a lot. So being able to wash these and like really see how these yarns hold up in the wash and stuff has been very fun for me. Just saying. I hope it's interesting to you too, because I really just don't, I've always been kind of scared to wash them too much. But I mean, it's important to wash them. That's kind of gross, but I don't wear them like I would if I lived further north, I guess you could say. So they don't get washed, especially these big sweaters, as much as I would if I wore them. So I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed with some of these yarns. It makes me like them even more that they do hold up. It kind of gives you that assurance also if you are giving them away as gifts, or you're selling your makes or whatever, that they'll hold up, because people who don't know about the yarn or don't know about crocheting aren't gonna be like as careful, you know what I mean? So the fact that that these yarns are holding up in the wash very well is reassuring, because if you do give it away or whatever, you don't have to worry about it messing up or looking all, fuzzy or whatever. So very impressed with Paintbox Yarn. It's one of my favorite. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. Let's do 9.5 out of 10. It is a great acrylic. It's a true DK. You have to get it online, so that's the only reason it's not a 10 out of 10. Lots of colors to choose from. One of my favorite acrylic yarns. Be on the lookout for a fall pattern with this yarn in the fall. So that is this week's Brutally Honest yarn review. I have some new yarns on the way that I have never tried before, never designed with before, that I'm going to be swatching up and reviewing soon. So hopefully at least one will be reviewed in this season, and then we'll get back into it in season 2. So be on the lookout for those. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions about blocking, please let me know. If you have any other tips, let me know. Leave them in the comments. If you have a yarn that you would like for me to review, put it in the comments, and I will see you guys again next week. Don't forget to subscribe.